I knew Taco Tuesday on a Friday was too good to be true.
Shut up and sit down.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Hell yeah, Batman!
Our bikes love us and we love them back as we ride through the city by the cars like plaque on the teeth of the town. We just keep on singing. We're unstoppable.
Oh, hell yeah!
G&O, unstoppable kids. Yeah, get your bike and go.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Legrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Doering. One of the most important decisions you will make is to be in a good mood. For every minute you are angry, you lose 60 seconds of happiness. So, crank it up and be happy, my friend.
When things are good, when things are hard, we ride together, we don't drive cars, but together we make such beautiful music.
Oh, hell yeah, brother, yeet.
Unstoppable mamas, a G&O, we're unstoppable, unstoppable kids, yeah. Get your bike and go, get your bike and go. Unstoppable papas, pedal and flow.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah! You're doing it good, buddy. Great job.
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von Doering, and I'm here with Lance Hepler.
It is Lance Romance here for your viewing pleasure or listening pleasure. I'm much better to look at than listen to.
Hey, Lance, guess what?
What?
We kicked off a couple triathlete guys, and we got somebody much cooler.
Yes.
Cyclocross extraordinaire, Scott Scholz. How you doing,
Scott?
Scott?
I'm okay. I don't think I'm cooler, but I am okay.
Okay.
We're just happy to be rid of the triathletes. We've just lost half our audience.
No, we miss Matt and we miss Evan, but they're both super busy with work stuff today.
They're busy.
I'm kind of bummed because I worked from September 7th to September 21st with Blair and Stacy at Best in the West TriFest, setting it up and breaking it down, but I left to go race my own race, so I didn't get to see the actual
You didn't see
race.
the actual race.
No.
You helped with all the setup stuff.
Yeah. So I was going to be like, how was it, boys? How was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, Evan actually did really well. I think he won the was it elite or pro or what was the class
He
on that?
won the overall by
25 minutes?
25 minutes.
what a beast. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically it was a swim for all three events, though.
Yes, because
Yeah.
it was pouring rain.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what he talked about.
Good times. How about some backpedaling, Lance? What you been up to?
I raced my bike this week.
Yeah?
Imagine that. I did go, I decided to go down to that little race, the Twilight Cyclocross race near Eugene, Oregon. I actually saw Scott there. Yep. Scott showed up as well. It's a small race. There might have been 60 or 70 people who did all three races together. I raced in the 50-plus field. It was fairly small. I won by minutes.
Ah, there you go.
Nice.
Or like a minute and a half or something like that. So it was super fun. It was more or less a farm crit is what we call it.
Okay.
Not a whole lot of technical stuff, but many fast
Yeah, there
corners.
were some gravel turns with a lot of people washing out, so you got to bunny hop both the barriers and downed
Right.
riders. Yep.
Yeah.
Right, and the down people.
Cool.
So I had a good time with that. We did have a cyclocross practice with the team, which was fun. I don't think we're going to do any more of those because we're losing daylight. We've been doing those on Wednesday night. And then I spent the rest of the weekend actually helping Scott out, and we'll get to that. We had our fourth race in the Harvest Cross Series, the Vanport cyclocross race, Vanport CX, and Scott was putting it on. He kind of jumped in and took over for somebody who had backed out, and so it ended up being a fantastic race.
Yeah, cyclocross is supposed to usually be like muddy and cold and
Yes.
sloppy.
Yeah.
And if it's not going to be that, Scott nailed it. It was a beautiful day.
Yeah, collective effort. I did want rain. I tried to dance. It did not come. But yeah, that was we had done the first race. I was working with Mike Ripley at Mudslinger Events, and when I was walking the course with the Ober officials, they told me about a race canceling and asked if I could fill the void, and I stepped up with 17 days to prepare.
Ooh.
So hit up some sponsors, got the support of the boys here from Dialed, and went full blast into it. And I'm proud of it.
It went off great. There were over 500 participants, which is fantastic. It's the biggest race we've had in Obra in cyclocross in Obra so far this year. So that was really great. I spent a few hours on Thursday helping with setup. I spent 12 hours on Friday helping pound steaks and set things up.
Lance moved into the facility, basically.
So his van was parked right in the middle. And just
right there.
Yeah.
I was there the whole time. And then I was there for like 14 hours on
race day
as well.
Wow.
So I was there helping with the more with the initial setup and getting things races, and then I had my own race to do, and then was stuck around to watch all the other races, and we had a blast. The race went really well for me personally. The 50-plus field is extremely competitive and difficult, and I managed to make the podium this
That's awesome,
week.
Lance.
So
how were your lap times in the Masters 50-plus field lining up with, say, like the Pro 1-2 class or the 1-2s? How...
the three of the leaders, we were doing about 6:55 laps, 6 minute 55 laps, about 7-minute laps, and the single speeders were very fast, and the Pro 1-2, the men's elite field, they were doing about 6:25s.
Okay, so they're about 30-ish
about 30 seconds a lap faster, which is significant.
It's significant, but given that you guys are 50-plus out there just hammering like that, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so we had a good time. I ended up getting a good start and stayed with a couple of the front guys. There were a couple fast guys who weren't at this race, which also helped my chances of making the podium, but we won't talk about that. Yeah, you gotta show up. So I had a blast. I had a great time. We had 24 teammates race, I think. We had a ton of people out there racing, which was super fun. The 50-plus field, there were 6 of us from Dialed in the 50-plus field, which was really cool to see. And actually, Terry Hamness took 4th right behind me. Yeah. Hatfield was 6th right behind him.
And Mike Hamness wasn't too far behind them.
No.
Was he in the top 10 or pretty darn close?
He was close. Yeah, I think so.
That's great.
It was good times. And the rest of Paul, first, our superstar elite, he raced the single speed race on his dirt jumper.
Yeah.
Where he was bunny hopping the barriers.
Okay, so a lot of people aren't going to know what a dirt jumper is. You want to describe that bike for us?
It's like a BMX bike.
It's like an oversized BMX bike.
It's like an oversized BMX bike.
A 24-inch wheel, Paul? 24-inch wheel on that? 26?
26-inch wheel, and the seat slammed all the way like below the tire.
Yeah.
So there's like no seat post. You couldn't really sit down and pedal. It was hilarious.
Bunny hop the barriers on that, and some great pictures of that as well.
Yeah.
And the greatest part about that is because it's cross, he's going to get the most cheers.
Yeah.
If you're different anywhere else, people are like, you're different. If you're different in cross, they're like, let's
celebrate
go.
him. Yep.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I grow the mustache out for cross, because it's funny.
Yeah.
It's ironic. It's silly.
I'm right there with you, because in like being on a road team for the last few years, playing the part, going to team training camp, you might do some photos like clean shaved there, but don't touch it until the end of the year. So by the time you hit cross and you look like a bum,
right?
But then you can ride a bike. People are like, okay, let's watch this guy.
You can still ride.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we had a good time.
Right on. Anything else, Lance?
No, I race bikes. That's what I do right now. Race too much.
So Scott, you get to backpedal. What'd you do this past week? Do any bike racing?
Yeah, but for me, it's more of a blur. Like I just feel like I've worked, and I heard a whistle blow, and I finished a race, and then I worked again. Like with that said, like you'll have this one-day event, and people who are not on the promoter side with a peek behind the curtain, they don't know how many hours are sucked into emails and phone calls and getting permits and losing permits. And you just try to trust the people you put in place that they'll do what they said they'll do, so you can mentally move on to the next chore. And that's what most of the promoters who I've been affiliated with throughout this year have kind of instilled in me. Just put the right people in the right places and you can't mess up. You won't mess up. And I feel like that's what we were able to do with Vanport. So I did get to race, but I spent probably definitely more time on my laptop than on a bike being able to prepare. So I'm excited as a racer to get through the season where I'm not putting on any more races and I get to focus on racing and training.
Yep.
Because it is an emotional, mental drag, physical drag to do the promoter thing. It's really hard to do both. Like my diet is horrible. Like I've never done this before in my life, but I was working so hard and driving a rig from one gig to try to get internet connection to do promoter stuff at night. I stopped at a 7-Eleven and I got 2 slices of pizza, a Snickers, and a Red Bull. and I was so ashamed. I was like hiding the trash when I parked my vehicle because I wanted nobody to know. Yeah.
Nobody see what I had for dinner.
I'm like, babe, don't judge me if you clean out the car. It wasn't me. I picked somebody up.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I did get to race. Like Lance, I'm trying to support Claire down at Twilight Cyclocross. I know I'm even taking a kid down there who doesn't have a ride to go race today.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And it'll be in the mud, so I had to mount some mud tread. And then we have races coming up. So like I said, it's all a blur, working and racing here and there when I can.
I tell you, it was actually quite inspiring to watch Scott on Saturday because I showed up at the race venue about 6:30 and Scott had beat me there by a full hour.
Oh wow!
and I didn't do a whole lot before my race because I wanted to be able to focus on my race, but not Scott. Scott was full speed, running all over the place, solving problems, taking care of issues until his race, which wasn't until 3 o'clock.
Yeah, which is so hard to race the last race of the day because I talk a lot, but the closer we get to my race, I get super quiet.
Right.
I get super nervous and anxious, and I think it's only because I care. So I'm thinking about, you put in the work on the trainer, you put in like the skills and drills outside
Right.
in the mud every time it rain in the off season. Don't let people down. And I'm like, bro, like have fun.
Just
Like,
go
yeah,
have fun.
have fun first, and all of those other things will fall into place when people praise you. Hey, good job. It doesn't matter if you came in last. Hey, good job out there, and that feels good.
Yeah.
So I need to be better at self-talk throughout the day. Because I hate racing last in the day.
It's hard.
For 2 reasons. I don't like racing with the Cat 1-2s because I literally watch them and study their lines to try to get better. And when they're out in front of us, I don't get to see them.
You don't get to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 2, racing at the end of the day for me is nerve-wracking. I need to get used to it.
Just have that anxiety sitting over you all day long. It's that little cloud that follows you all over the place. And
I'm
you're just like,
not good with it. I need like a coach there with me, like telling me, you're going to be okay. It's just a bike race.
Yeah.
You're going to be okay.
Scott's been racing in the 2-3 field this year and doing quite well. He won Left Coast and has been top 3 several times.
But only because I set up the course, so I know.
how can I set this up to best play to my advantage?
They actually, the 2 courses that I helped set up, being Left Coast and Vanport, they're not my favorite.
Oh.
And a lot of cyclocross don't like the term, this is a roadies course.
Yeah.
But I have that. I feel like that's what I have. Like, so when you have that long power section where you can just like kind of get aero on your cross bike and just close your eyes a little bit and drill it, like that's my strength. Not all I'm new to cross. This is like second season. So like diving in and then punching out, and literally every lap of the cross course is 24 matches spent. Where that's what a road race is.
Yeah.
And you're doing that 8 consecutive times.
Yeah.
I found out the first time I did cross, the first season, is I would do decent for 1 lap and then be lapped for the next 7.
Just fall off the cliff.
Yeah. But that's
I've
how
been
you do
accused
good.
of that.
Yeah, that's how you do good. You just see how long you can hold on for and break other people. That's
Gotcha.
the cool thing about cross. You go out hot, try to get the whole shot, and you turn around and there's less of a pack with you, and you're like, yes. Yes.
Right.
All right, how about we jump into our topic today? Because I don't have any backpedaling. I didn't do anything exciting last week. There's nothing to report. It's all the same because I have a really, I'm not going to use profanity here. Fill in the blank here.
Frustrations.
Yeah, with my shoulder.
Yeah.
So I did do a gravel ride, and we tried to do something more technical, and that was by design, hoping that maybe I could like see what my shoulder has available, and that like screwed me up for like still to today.
It
like
still
a week
doesn't
later,
feel good.
yeah, it still hurts.
Yeah.
Still not sleeping well. So let's just skip over me and let's get into today's topic, and it's really just going to be like, what's the anatomy of cyclocross? And we get a chance to talk to a newer promoter here. We get to talk about like all the ins and outs there, and we got a couple guys over here that do a fair amount of cyclocross racing. So it's just going to be the anatomy of cyclocross. I have questions. I'm sure Lance has questions.
I have questions.
Scott's got lots of answers for it.
I have more questions than answers.
So I guess the first question is like, how's it feel becoming a new promoter on the scene? I mean, you've already put off one of the more successful cyclocross races that we've seen in recent time for an early season race. I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think to rewind a second, no use, we put off.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what I do. If
Yeah.
the community's not behind it,
Yeah.
it's all in vain.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so
Well,
cool.
it takes the catalyst, though, and you were that.
Yeah.
Hey, let me say this though. I quit on you, and Scott did not. Like on race day,
Yeah.
I'd been there through like the very end of the last race. I helped for about an hour and a half or 2 hours with the course teardown, and at that point, I'm like, I am done.
Yeah.
I'm leaving. I just got in my van and drove away.
yeah.
And Scott, I just like waved goodbye. Sorry, Scott, I'm leaving. I've done
No.
what I can.
Any job that I've ever worked, I've been a firm believer that management should be able to work circles around their employees. Otherwise, they don't deserve to be there.
Okay.
So, same thing with race promoting. And it's true. Like, the people who promote races, they don't sleep. They're constantly at it, and they always have time for people. Yeah. So
Let me ask you this: what's been like the one or two like biggest surprises that you found as you started putting on these races, promoting these races? Has it been difficult emails to answer, or
I already want to laugh because the very first thing I think of is how many questions you get fielded that are on your race flyer. So it's
Okay.
like, that's the best one. It's like, okay, I could go and copy and paste and send the same thing out. But I get it. Like when the amount of, I might have gotten 24 people who hit me up saying, this is the first race I've ever done. Like, I just got a bike this year. Like, I couldn't imagine. I volunteered at cyclocross races for 2 years before I had enough guts to get in and try a race.
Yeah.
This is people for 2 months. They've been on a bike and they're like, let's try this.
I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Wow.
And those are the people who I make all the time in the world for.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like, I go back and forth until we're best friends via email. And then they see me and they're comfortable. And then I get them in touch with other beginners, and they're on the start line talking, and they've lost all anxiety for themselves because it's a collective like undertaking at that point.
Sure.
Yeah. The promoter thing. So the way I got into it this year was I was in the coffee industry working a job. COVID made things complicated. We moved locations, and
The coffee company you're working for moved locations?
yeah,
Okay.
we moved our warehouse, and I was warehouse management and shipping, in charge of shipping. The sales team kept selling stuff. that we did not have.
Uh-oh.
So it was that constant like check back in 2 weeks for the customer. So as soon as the sales team sold stuff, it was on us to deliver, and we're just getting further and further behind. We literally have our techs had all of their tools in cardboard boxes, unmarked, piled up, and we have to fix like espresso machines and coffee machines, and so it got complicated. And I wrote to me an innocent email to management, including the CEO, CFO. I'm like, hey, we're failing. Like, we need to change things because our employees aren't happy, and some of them are about to leave to go get unemployment, and like they're seeing other people do that, so they're not hesitant. And
part of the mass exodus from the workforce that COVID caused.
When you're getting like some money waved over you, and you're like, wait, and I don't have to go deal with this nightmare of a job. Dude, I wanted to do the same thing. So I sent that email out on Friday, and I was thinking I wouldn't hear back until Monday morning when we do our roundup meeting for the week. And I got a call immediately from the CEO. A lot of swear words that I don't know what I'm doing. I've never owned a company. And I told him, like, hey, I hired some of these kids on, and they're friends of mine, and I don't want to lose them. And I was just met with, no one's going to leave in the middle of an effing pandemic.
Oh,
and I
really?
was like, peace, I'm out. So post-traumatic stress from an ex-Marine father talking to me in that tone that I was like,
I don't
no.
need this.
Yeah. I was like, no, Dad. I bounced, and I had volunteered for cyclocross races and road races and TTs with various promoters, and I had worked with David Salzberg of Zone 5 Promotions for a couple of years. And in my head, I was like, I will go work with some promoters until I can find a real job. So I wrote one email, and I sent it out to every promoter in Oregon under OBRA. Everyone came back with, yes, I need you.
Every promoter
that I hit up came back,
wow.
yes. I first went with Brian Simiotti, and he does Echo Red to Red mountain bike.
Yeah.
Then I went to Mudslinger with Mike Ripley, and he pretty much adopted me.
Yeah,
Yep.
Mike's great.
We've had Mike on the show.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And when I talk about promoters being able to work circles around everybody, I'll get up at 4. He's up at 3:30. I'm like, bro, how are you beating me? Like, I'm making an effort, and it's very casual for him.
Yeah.
He does a lot of races, and
I probably did 80% of the races he put on this year.
Yeah.
I did as many as I could. Yeah.
And I worked them all.
I think I saw you at most of them.
And this year, I ponied up, and I got a mountain bike, and I started racing them.
Yes.
Like, my first rides on my mountain bike were races.
Oh my gosh, Scott.
And if you want to learn how to do a discipline, like, that's how you do it. Like,
just jump in.
And those guys know what they're doing. Yeah. So working with Mike Ripley, that's been a big one.
He has a lot. He's like 20 years of experience of promoting, so a lot to learn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's super patient, and he's so good at, like, so if someone comes up to me, so during a race day, if you're the promoter, you're fielding questions all day long, and usually they're concerns, and usually they're hot. Like, we got to fix this now. And Mike is so good at de-escalating any situation.
Right.
People come to him with so much heat, and he answers things with a smile. And, like, I need to learn that. Like, to be able...
It's a good skill set.
Yeah. And then, like, my whole goal with knowing all these promoters that I came on board with was, you will tell me what my priority is. When 20 different people come to me saying, we need to do this, we need to do that, whether it be OBRA officials or participants, volunteer crew, paid staff, being able to navigate who I prioritize, because time is of the essence and you have limited time. Those are the biggest, like, little wins that you could grab
Gotcha.
from other people, I think.
That's good. Got a question for you regarding Vanport. What are some of your takeaways after that race? I know that you had all of the stress and the anxiety, and there was a ton of work and getting there early, and it was just a busy day that probably feels like a little bit of a blur now. But I'm sure you've had some time to sit down and reflect. What are some takeaways from that race?
No time to reflect yet. Because as soon as the night ended, it was like I'm on the phone with the owner of the next venue.
Yeah.
But I want to say there's no stress of the day really. The stress was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We got everything together and done. Mm-hmm. And we had team tent drop off Friday night with course preview. Mm-hmm. That was the coolest thing ever. Like it's a grass field with some dirt, and like we create something that wasn't there.
Yes.
That's only going to live there for the day.
Yeah.
But to see some people come Friday to check it out, like that's a big deal. And it was the first time I was seeing teams in like 4s and 5s, like right around pre-writing the course together this season, where that's like a roadie thing.
Yeah.
Like you see a team of 6 and you're like, cool, they showed up in numbers. Like cyclocross, there's a lot of sprinkling in here and there, and the categories are raced throughout the day. So you don't really get to see, unless it's dialed, a cluster of 6 people together.
Yeah.
So that was like one of the first tear jerkers. Like that was cool. Even on Friday, there was moms and dads coming out with their kids to preview the kiddie course that wasn't set up yet.
Right.
But I was like, it's right over there. You just do some like weird cursive like signatures. What's a signature? I'm like, I don't know, kid. So that was great. The only stress, like I said, nothing for Saturday, was Friday evening after I went home and it was all quiet. You don't know what you don't know. So I'm sitting on the couch with my laptop trying to figure out what I'm gonna find out I messed up Saturday evening, like what I didn't do. Because it's 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I have those hours until midnight. So I have 6 hours to fix whatever mistake I don't know I made yet. That's the only one. And it's so weird to like stress on something that's not even there.
So was there something that landed on that list?
I did like, if we were rating Vanport, I'd give myself a B-.
Oh, really?
Because, and I'm really good at being honest and transparent. I forgot to put a mechanic in the pit.
We did talk about that a little bit yesterday.
We did talk about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was so.
I think I know somebody who might be able to help you out with that next go around.
Well, that's why I'm here. Yeah, find that mechanic. I could make it a story up. I had a hired mechanic.
Yeah,
he didn't show up. That guy's fired. But no,
just send him over to Lance's van. It was parked in the infield, right?
It was parked in the infield.
What? Dial did step up. Like everybody who came up with 18 goat heads in their front wheel. From the parking lot.
Yep.
We sent them over to Dialed.
We solved several mechanical problems. It was pretty funny. People, like, all of a sudden somebody would roll up and he goes like, Scott said I'm having an issue, and he said I should come over and ask you guys if I could help. I'm like, yeah, let me see what's going on. Actually, the Zach Winter, the guy who won the Masters 35 plus 1-2 race.
Yeah.
Literally 10 minutes before the race start, he rolled over and said, I'm having a problem with my brakes. I think I'm just going to not race. He's like, is anybody mechanically inclined here? I go, let me look at it. So I look at this brake, and you know how brake pads are held together by a spring? Well, one of the spring arms had like bent out of shape and was rubbing, right? It's a fairly common problem with wet brakes. He's like, and he looked at it and said, oh, forget it. I just won't race. And I'm like, no, give me 3 minutes and let me see if I can fix it. I took it apart. I clipped off the thing. I put it back together. I'm like, Zach, you're good to go. And he's
so
like,
you saved his day and gave him a win.
Yeah.
He came over afterwards. He's like,
the photos aren't out yet, but I had a few different photographers there, and I got like his podium photos. I've already gotten back. He's like half undressed out of his
shirtless,
kit, throwing the horns. I'm like, bro, this is a family event. Like, let's
he's
get
a character though.
Yeah.
He's really funny. I like him a lot.
He was super stoked because he beat a guy that he has battled with for a decade.
Is that Paul Boursier?
Yes.
Yeah.
Another beast.
Yep.
Yes, and they have battled on the road and in several different disciplines for more than a decade. And so he came over. He's like, "Dude, I'm so glad you come. You gave me the W." And I'm like, "I
Love
just
it.
fixed your brakes. It's no big deal." So
No mechanic. Well, anything else on the list, or is that it?
So that was on me.
Well, that wasn't. I don't think that was like a terrible thing
It's
because
not.
it's like
No,
the community
so there's-
is going to rally and they're going to support each other, and that happened.
There's
So,
two things so I always address these things as a racer
yeah,
and then a promoter.
sure.
And it's as a racer, where's my damn mechanic? Like I need help. Like I need help from everybody. And as a promoter, it's like I'm sorry. So I just forgot. Like
it was
it's
one
not, yeah.
thing.
And I know better. I know better. I even made the pit, and I made the pit with a 10 by 10 tent section for the mechanic
Sure.
that I forgot to find the dang mechanic to be. Yeah, that's embarrassing. But yeah, I like it. Now it's on my laptop in bold, underlined 4 times. Like I'm not gonna make the same mistake. So that was one. The other only hiccup that was hard to swallow. We did chip timing from Stacy and Blair Bronson of Best in the West events, and which is amazing. But it was just organizing that in the morning with Obra numbers, and there's a lot of day ofs. It made my line super long, and a handful of people had to be in line for an hour. And that to me was like, I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, but you recalibrated that as
Yeah,
the day
we-
went on.
we
It
did.
really got.
It took like 45 minutes, but then you were able to find a way to solve it so it wasn't this big long line. to
Yeah,
pick up
and
the
at
chip.
the end of the day, in my opinion, it's worth it. You figured that out, and you brought chip timing. You brought chip timing to this area. We've been talking
Yeah.
about that for God knows how long.
I am so irritated when I do a race that doesn't have chip timing.
So here, this is my thing. I had a horrible race, right? Like I went off, like I tried to go for the whole shot, got second place. These junior kids that are they're realizing they get upgrade points when they do Cat 2-3 field. So now they're playing with us and making us look like idiots. I'm like, you got your own category. It's junior 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I already did that one. So it's like
Do this again.
their warm down is the Cat 2-3 field. So yeah, I come in second behind the whole shot, and we immediately break away in a cluster of 4. And on one of, I think it's the second lap, I tag the barrier section with my back wheel, tag the first barrier. My chain falls off and gets stuck.
Oh no!
So I lose because we have chip timing.
You can see
I know that
exactly.
I lost 45 seconds that lap.
yeah.
But so whatever, I fall back to 12th, come back up to 6th, and I'm trying to battle for points for the series overall because I lost it. So now I'm second place with 66 points, and Bradford Smith, who is an absolute beast,
He's a beast.
who does the 2-3 field on his single speed bike.
And he races a single speed
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And got on the podium.
And got on the
He
podium.
was second place in the single speed and took first place in the 2-3 field. He just stole the series overall from me, so I'm coming for him.
No.
We got 2 races
Yeah.
left.
Yeah, he is so sick. I love riding with the guy. But one of my teammates to console me, because he knows bro, you've worked hard at putting this race together, doing your race, having a crappy mechanical, because obviously I'm not strong enough to lift a bike up at the end of the day. You pound
clear the
stakes,
barrier.
you know?
Yeah.
And it's a workout,
Yep.
and you're like, I can do everything, but you can't. But he's like, you set the fastest lap time in the 2-3 field. I was like, well, that's cool, you know? And again, it's we're such nerds about lap times.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You know, I have rewinding to people who just started doing the beginner field. At that job I worked in the coffee industry, some of those kids I was going to bat for came to the bike race. It was the first bike race they've ever done. I'm like, I'll get you in, and that was the biggest highlight of my day, because at the last job, I could only do what I could do in the parameters of that company.
Correct.
With the position they
Yep.
put me in.
Yep.
They give you, I come to be a race promoter. they give you a blank sheet of paper and basically say, scribble off of it. You know, you can do whatever you can create, you can create. So I had these my old work crew come that only saw me stressing on when the hell the next barge of machines is showing up to, you did this? Like what part of this did you do? Did you do like you set up the course? I'm like, no, like literally, like look over there. That was all orchestrated. Look over here. That was all like thought of and designed.
All of the layers.
Yeah. And like you can think anything. Like an artist can think anything. That doesn't mean you're a good artist. It's like, can you execute? And then like I said, putting the right people in the right positions, and then you can leave those things to focus on what you want to do. Dude, it felt so cool, and like I was so proud of myself within those little that little moment with some old coworkers that are
That's cool.
like they're coming into cycling. And like they're visiting my world, you know.
Yeah,
that's such a big deal.
I can resonate with that. That I definitely feel that way because you know Lance has been a part of this too. This team that we've built, and we do all kinds of fun stuff to try and like say, hey, come over here and check this out. Look at this thing, and you give somebody a peek behind the door of seeing what this world entails.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they step through that, and then it changes their life, and they get to do all these fun things.
Yes.
We get to see that all the time, and that right there is like that's why I'm doing this. Like in the back of your head, you're like, that's why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And to see what you're doing, that's a conduit that we get to plug into and show people. So like, I have nothing but respect for you up and down. And gosh, it's just awesome. So so for you to have that moment, that just tells you you're doing something right.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Good job, Scott.
Thank you so much. I need that now. Yeah. Thank yous don't, good jobs don't pay the bills, but
motivate you. Keep you going.
Totally.
Yeah. It's fun. Lance, what other questions do you have for Scott?
What pushed you into wanting to really do this? And or let me clarify this. What are your plans? What are you hoping to do with all this?
That's a really big question right there because, I mean, I don't know how much Scott wants to get into, like, what he's actually going to be doing and what 2022 and possibly 2023 are going to look like. But, I mean, the guy sitting across the table from us is going to be responsible for a lot of people here that race bicycles being pretty happy.
We need it. We're losing promoters, and we're sick of losing promoters, and we're losing races, and we want those races back.
Yeah,
so
I'm right there with you, and I'm physically trying to fill that void with myself and a crew. And a lot of this stuff is just kind of happening. Like I said, I came on board with a bunch of promoters this year as an hourly worker. And then I was working for Dom Phipps, who does Best of Both down in Bend.
Yeah.
which is a triathlon.
No. Well, no.
No, Best of Both.
Yeah,
is that what I said?
No,
it's
Did I say Best of Both?
You said Best of Both.
Okay, yes.
That is correct.
That is correct.
It's not Best in the West. That's what I thought. That's what I heard.
Best
but
of
that's
Both
not
is
what you said.
Cool.
Gravel Mountain or no Gravel Road Mountain?
No, road bike too.
Gravel Road Mountains.
It's
I think
gravel bike, then road bike, then mountain bike.
Yeah.
I did that race. You were there.
Yeah. Which is sick. Whenever I think I can do decent at a race, sometimes I don't do it. Like, I don't know if I'm the only one because I'm like, it makes me more nervous, but I think I could have done really well there. But I just worked it instead, justified not racing it by working it.
I blew to pieces.
Yeah.
Because it was a 6-hour day, and that 6th hour, I blew to pieces.
It was warm too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was.
Dude.
Yeah. I still won my age division, but I blew to pieces.
I just remember the picture of you looking like a giant salt lick.
Yes, I was a complete salt lick.
So anyway. I was there working, and I got a phone call from Brian Simiotti. And Brian Simiotti is the promoter who does Echo Red to Red mountain bike, who I started with this year. He's like, hey, I'm taking over Baker City Cycling Classic. I need backup, like big time. I drove from Bend out to Baker to work with him. I already hadn't been home for a while to see like the wifey and our dogs, but I'm committed. Like my whole goal for this year was like prove to the community that I'm committed. If I get asked to do anything, the answer is yes. I'll figure out how to do it, but I will step up and do it. go and I work with Brian Simiotti at Baker City Cycling Classic as an hourly worker. But then I start getting questions from like Ober officials and like people racing the event, and I feel like I'm getting pulled up to a higher level. And I told Brian, I'm like, Brian, I can't take on this amount of stress at this pay. Like my beard that was red is pretty much gray now. And he's like, well, do you want to co-promote it, co-direct it next year? That was the biggest one. That was how the idea of maybe I can be a promoter like popped into my head. Because you just don't know. Like,
can I handle this? Do I know all the bits and pieces? Do I connect? Am I going to have a mentor that's going to help show me the way?
Yeah, I feel like I got calloused very quickly. Baker's hurting, and we're doing a lot right now is in the off season to build up for next year, and more to come on that. But yeah, after Baker and taking that on, literally sleeping like 3 hours a night from race day to race day if we were lucky.
Yeah.
But we had Brian and Corinne Vetter who had been running it for forever,
and they helped.
They housed us. They took over a school that is home. Like they renovate it to a home.
Oh wow!
Like
wow! Yeah.
Like you've seen the show. Like you live in what?
Yeah.
Like they live in
school.
what? Yeah, it's
Old
insane.
schoolhouse, huh?
And then every classroom is like a different artist residency. It's so cool. And then one
This is in the city of Baker City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to have a bike ride, like a little mini tour that goes from here to Baker, because at that school they have a hostel where there's tons of bunks, and that's where we stayed. And it was really cool because I got to stay there with all the Ober officials. So fielding questions like in the morning and the night about like race day logistics, and there was no text or phone calls. We're literally in a big wide open room, all on bunk beds like 6-year-olds.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't want to be the and you're kind of giddy with the event and like being the ones that are putting it together for the racers. So the way that like if that room was filled with racers, they would be like, oh dude, tomorrow like Lance is gonna attack and we'll be able to sit in and then we'll counter. Like the Ober officials have their own little thing where they're talking about logistics of the day and how to pull things off seamlessly. Which is super cool. It's cute, you know? Like,
yeah.
And it was fun to be a part of that. And yeah,
that's kind of what spurred the whole thing for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. I was thinking of a buddy who came on board, one of my friends, Colin, and he will joke around because any job interview or job that he goes after, he's pretty much told them he's done it all, and then he'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's sketchy, you know, because you haven't done it all.
But if he has a track record and he can pull it off,
Yeah.
I mean,
So
all right.
I'm trying to do a little bit of that.
Yeah.
I still think honesty is king, and I think actions speak louder than words. But I think confidence is what breeds trust. So that is and that last word, trust, is the biggest thing for me in all of this. How much Brian Simiotti and Mike Ripley, Blair and Stacy Bronson trust me whenever I'm part of their crew. They'll give me the keys to their truck and say, go and do this, this, and this. I'll come back with the truck safe and sound, you know, fill the gas up.
Yeah.
But the fact that they trusted me, they'll hand me a paycheck, but I'm like, no, dude, the trust part's a big deal.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have trust issues from like family upbringing, but I get like emotional with that. So, and then I can take that energy to the race scene. Like, you guys trusted me to put a race on. You know, the fourth race of the 6 round series. Thank you for trusting me. You didn't have to. And everyone's been so receptive of like on both sides. The other promoters, after the event went off, the amount of text and phone calls I got from other people within Obra, how'd your race go? Like,
Oh, nice.
yeah, and it was like, dude, I don't even have to answer that. As soon as I read that text, it felt so good.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, that's and that. So you could run an event, go into the negative, and be down on yourself, and you can have that support from other promoters, and that alone gives you the momentum to let's try this again. Let's go again because we have to.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not here, we don't have a race, and the racer half of me dies.
Right.
It's crazy. What about looking forward? I mean, there is another race on the calendar that you're going to be doing. Let's put the pin in that one just for a second.
Yeah.
But how much can you talk about for 2022?
So
what's your plan?
Yeah, so I'll try to tie this in so people can feel what I feel, but I started volunteering at cyclocross races under David Salzberg and David Hart, who owned Zone 5 Promotions.
Zone 5 Promotions put on David Douglas, Hetmere, Nincrossi.
Yep.
Washougal one back in the day.
Yeah. Back in the day.
They also did the Jack Frost time trial.
Yep.
They did the Yamhill Grand Fondo. They did Dirty Circles. They did Cherry Pie.
Cherry Pie.
There's a very, very long list of events.
Events that they did. Yeah. And we lost all those events this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This year, though.
This year.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yes. So, yeah. So, because I feel the most connected and comfortable around the cyclocross community, I wanted to start there.
Yeah.
So, Mike Ripley gave me the keys for Left Coast Cross and said, don't crash my truck. You know, so which was so rad.
Yeah.
And he's so good because he could have micromanaged me. That's not how I would do it. Blah blah blah. He just let me do it, and we did something really special. I feel like a race in August, cyclocross race, is hard to sell.
Yeah.
But it was at a winery with a tasting room open and like wood fired pizzas and like
the venue there's fantastic.
Yeah.
I had a great weekend there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except I blew my chain up.
Yeah, sorry.
Like
I'll get you a chain. But yeah, so yeah, I wanted to start with the cross community. That made things less scary for me. But when I think 2022, and I know I'm going to be affiliated with Baker, there needs to be a momentum built to get to Baker.
We need to have other road races leading up to the stage race that Baker is.
Yes. And with that said, that was let's get Jack Frost back on the schedule. Let's get Dirty Circles back on the schedule. So a TT and a road race. I'm hoping Kings Valley comes back and they're back on the schedule. And that builds momentum and it builds trust and we get to Baker.
Baker City was one of the only multi-stage road races in the country this year. There was very few.
Yeah.
There was one in Atlanta.
And that was felt because it was the Nationals the week prior.
Yes.
So there was like two big teams came to Baker this year, a Volo team.
Yeah.
And
Drake Duel?
Drake Duel came with, was it Team California?
I think so. Yeah.
Which I had a buddy who I train with in Southern California, this young kid, such a ripper, on an old bike. But we would go do training rides, like the gnarly ones down there, the Como Street Ride.
Oh yeah, I know that one. Yep.
Yeah, I've done that with who's the dude who took the yellow jersey after Lance?
Oh,
Floyd Landis.
Floyd Landis.
Yes, yep. Back in the day, yep.
Yeah, I've done that with Floyd Landis on the front, and he's still got it. Yeah, or had it then. Yeah, so that's no joke training ride.
Yep.
Like it's a race.
Yeah.
But I always saw that kid there at the front. And we became friends. That was a few years ago. And every time I go down to Orange County to visit family, I hit him up and we'll do like a 30-hour training week.
Wow. What's his name?
Ryan. His last name, I can't can't pronounce it correctly, so we'll just say Ryan for now. Anyways,
I wonder if I know who he is.
that kid, I got him a free entry to Baker to come up. I'm like, dude, I need you here, little buddy. I need you to come support my race. And he came up and he did the 4-5 field and crushed it. And he's on Team California now.
Oh, he got picked up by Team
Yeah,
Cal.
so the last text I got from him was wearing the same jersey as Drake. And I was like, you feel like a proud dad, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's like he had only done like triathlons up until there and comes out and does a stage race. Yeah. Does the TT at the stage race. He was the only one in like top 10 that was on a road bike. And I got in my car because I was flagging one of the corners and I came up behind him and I'm like, bro, you got to get down. Like, you got to get aero. Yeah, because everybody else is like getting time back on you. So yeah, we had Drake Duel out there with a team, and it was kind of crazy because Evola was such a monster squad that they lapped the field in the crit, and the amount of time that they gained in lapping the field in the crit is the exact time that they won GC over Drake Duel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is insane.
gosh.
Yeah.
Like the amount of knowledge that a rider has to, like, you're going up the final day, the climb of hell. Like, how long is it? Too long?
It's like 10 miles.
Yeah, I want to say too long. And to know I at least have to hit this second to win overall. Like, those dudes are on another level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just try to finish the race and we try to finish strong. But when you're also being strategic,
Yeah.
there's no strategy when you can't even see straight.
Gotcha.
So,
Right.
So in 22, we'll see Jack Frost.
I'm hoping so.
Okay.
Yeah, I still have to do the promoters meeting and see if this will come to fruition.
Yeah.
But as far as mapping out my calendar, I want to get Jack Frost on the schedule.
Dirty Circles?
Yep.
Will you take that back to the dike, or are you going to go in Woodland, or are you going to go somewhere else?
Again, I have to see where the permits lay, but
Gotcha. I know that the Davids were talking about a new location in 2020 before everything got shut down. Just kind of curious how that's going to work out, because that's a fun early season one. And
I love it.
It used to be a 3-race series too.
Yeah.
Will that be the case, or is it just going to be a one-day deal?
For now, one and done.
One and done, okay.
But yeah, I'm a dreamer, so I'm like, no, we'll have races every day.
Yeah.
Right.
But I have like an amazing girlfriend who's a realist, and she's like, don't bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you know this is hard. Like, putting like a little text box on a race calendar of when you're gonna do a race, that's pretty easy.
Yeah.
But like making it work.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Jack Frost, Dirty Circles.
Have you ever sat down and tabulated how much time goes into promoting just
No.
one race?
No, because it's
I know it changes from race to race, but I'm sure
you'll kill yourself.
You don't want to know.
Yeah,
you don't wanna know.
So we joke around, like there's like the handful of promoters. Like I feel like there's a lot of people I need to talk about because they've been so instrumental to me getting here, and they're popping into my head
Go for it.
throughout talking. But Sal Kalura and Beverly Floyd, who are part of Obra, and Sal has done race promotion himself. They've been at like all the events that I've been doing, and from Baker City to the cross races, pounding stakes and helping out with like race day logistics as well. But with that question of like, have you tabulated how much maybe you're making per hour? It's like 6 cents. It's
Okay, but the important thing
don't-
is it's actually positive. It's 6 cents. It's not I lost 6 cents.
Well, right now it is. Yeah, right now it is. Dude, I don't know if I can fully say, expose what we were able to do at Baker, but it broke even.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it broke even within like $1,000, and we're like, whole. And that's Brian Simiotti not taking a cut of money.
Oh, wow.
See,
So
promoters have to make money or they're not going to promote.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people understand that.
Yeah.
There has to be a profit made, otherwise races are going to go away.
Yeah. Well, the scary thing is the negative, because you don't want to invest so if I do anything if I do a race, my girlfriend lives through all of the anxiety and stress that I live through, and probably more because she has to console me through it. I better make enough to take her out to dinner, or I'm not doing another one.
Right.
Yeah. So, in Brian's case, he took Scott Cycles as a sponsor to the race, and that was a justification of if the race loses money, it was just a huge sponsor payout to get the family shop affiliated with the race.
Brian Semiotti runs Scott Cycles, which is a bike shop in Tri-Cities in Kennewick, Washington, and I think it's a shop that his father started, but now Brian runs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's super complicated the way he does emails, because the email is under Scott Semiotti, not Brian Semiotti.
Which is his dad. Yeah.
But he'll also use that email to do Baker. And because my name is Scott, people will be like, hey, I talked to you, bro. And I'm like, no, you didn't talk to me. You didn't even talk to the guy you think you talked to.
Talk to Brian.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So we need to update homie's email.
Awesome. What about Yamhill? Will that be something that you...
I don't know. I was lucky enough to be there at Yamhill as a worker. And David Salzberg let me also race.
Yamhill's a gravel race that had a fantastic inaugural year, and then we couldn't pull it off in 2021.
Yeah, that's just one of those places. You come over some of these hills, and there's just these vistas. You're like, that's not real.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's green screen backdrop, something, I don't know. This is not real.
Yeah. We did have a hiccup with one grumpy homeowner in
I
the
heard
area.
about that, yeah.
She pulled out a directional sign. So when I went out I did the medium, the medio.
Yeah.
And we blew the first turn. And that sucked because we started going downhill. So all the dudes who were looking at their Garmin was like, nope, we missed the turn way back there. And prior to us missing the turn, we knew who did it because that lady was coming up the road against the bike traffic, honking her horn, flicking us off. And we were so lucky to have
one day.
We were so lucky to have one of my heroes, Tony Kick, was on a moto in front of us, and he put himself in front of us in the car and made sure the car got out of the way. And he did his job, and he protected us.
Yeah.
And he's a big reason that I thought working for promoters could be a reality.
Yeah.
Because he does it like a boss. And yeah, dude's a beast. I'm a fan of his.
Cool.
Yeah, and I like I said, the dreamer part of me says, yeah, I want to go back to Yamhill based on the venue, because there's a trout pond, and I just want to go fishing.
There you go.
Yeah.
Can I come?
Yeah. Dude,
It's like a barn and a huge field, and it's like the venue was phenomenal.
Yeah,
Dude.
I don't want to leave here.
I slept on the floor one night, and it was raining.
Yeah.
And 3 hours into sleeping, my mummy sack sleeping bag is just soaked through and through, and it was cold. And another guy I'm a fan of, Philip Trost, who is part of my crew, and he's going to be a big part of my crew moving forward. Had an extra slumberjack. Do you know what that is? A little sleeping cot.
Okay.
Yeah, so he gave me that. I just remember sleeping in I think I put on a cycling kit and then clothes on top of it, just anything I had that was warm to try to sleep. And I was like, commitment,
Yeah.
I could have driven home. I think I was hour and a half away from home, and a hot shower and a warm bed, but I was like, no, bro, show your commitment.
There you go.
I'm sleeping in the wet.
If you bring it back, you have to promise that the burritos come back too. Remember that post-ride burrito?
Oh, yeah.
Did you have
dude.
those?
The burritos were awesome.
Yeah.
That's
was
funny that
magical.
we remember the burritos,
Yeah.
because they were actually that good.
The socks were awesome too. That was a nice touch. I think I just wore those 2 days ago, if I'm not mistaken. So David
did not cut any corners.
No.
He put in I remember the crew that went out there to ride around in the race fields as kind of a support crew, whether it be paid staff or volunteers. They had branded race jerseys.
Oh,
like Yamhill jerseys that were a different color than everyone else that got a jersey. And I was like, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Like you make everybody that comes to your event feel special.
Yep.
So they come again.
Yeah.
So the volunteer crew got a little bit more than like the ones who got to race. Racing is the biggest one.
Yeah.
Like if you get to race an event, you're pretty damn special.
Yeah.
Because there's people who just can't make it there.
Mm-hmm. That was a fun one, and that was like before gravel really like truly exploded. I mean, it was right there at the beginning when everybody was starting to do more gravel. It was just a lot of people showing up on their cyclocross bikes, not having these gravel specific bikes. And if it had been able to continue forward last year, I think it probably would have, no joke, I think it would have doubled in participation.
Definitely.
And then moving forward, it probably would have ended up being a premier event because the location is that good.
Is good.
Yeah. Very cool. So how about we talk about Washougal? That is a little race that just popped up on the Oprah calendar, and it's a cyclocross race. And yours truly here, Scott, is going to be promoting that.
So Washougal is the most romantic notion for me in cycling. Like I said, I worked with David Salzberg and David Hart for a couple years at cyclocross events before I had enough courage to go and participate in one. But Philip Trost had a Sage titanium cross bike, and I had like Timberland work boots. He's like, bro, go race my bike. And the bike is so beautiful that the only answer you could have is yes.
Okay,
Of course.
I will.
Dude, I just want to touch it. And you're going to let me go like mess around in the mud on it? Like, okay. He lets me race his bike in the Cat 5 field with big old muddy work boots that are like, dude.
What year was this?
2017.
Okay, that was the last one then, right? That was the last time they had that race there was in 2017. And I remember that because that was the last cyclocross race I was able to do.
I think they went No,
it was the next year. The next year they didn't do it. They did it in Crossy. They didn't do the Washougal race.
So I'm referring to the venue, but
yeah.
So I do that, and I'm hooked for life.
Yeah.
For life. Like I threw away my road bike, and
That sounds like me.
But you know how those races go when you try something new and it goes, even if the placement doesn't go well. It went well because I'm smiling, and you go home and like you build up the courage to be like, babe, can I buy another bike? And she doesn't get that there's multiple disciplines, and she's like, this is getting really expensive, at that race it was raining, and there was a tent with one of the vendors came out, Biciclista, and I go under his tent for protection from the rain, and we start small talk, and essentially he's like, have you ever been here before? I'm like, yeah, I actually come out here to watch the motocross races. Super fan. And he was like, I could see he perked up a little bit when he heard that. And I'm like, yeah, my girlfriend's dad's an ex-pro supercross motocross racer, and he's in the industry with like a suspension company. And I can tell he wants to kind of get into conversation about that. And I'm like, you probably don't know him. He owns Enzo Suspension. And immediately he's like, Ross Maeda. I'm like, yeah. He's like,
he really did know.
Yeah, he's like, when I came over to the U.S. With like Team Italy for like a motocross to nations race, Ross hosted him for like a few months, and when Ross had gone to Italy, like vice versa. So family friends that I had no idea.
Yeah.
I liked the guy based on liking the guy.
Yeah.
And then I find out he's like a family friend.
Sure.
And that's where I met him. At Washougal.
This is Stefano.
Yes.
Of Biciclista.
Yeah. Who is like, dude, he's
salt of the earth.
He is like the man.
Yeah.
The amount of stuff that he does and nobody knows, just kind of makes me.
Let's talk about him for a minute. I think I've like just had like brief subtleties, like, hey, how you doing? I mean, like, I know who he is. I see his little VW van out there with his Biciclista in his tent, and he was a big supporter of Vanport. You had his
he was
he the title sponsor?
Yeah. And as far as the guy, like, I can't say enough good things about him. So basically,
He cooked us lunch every day.
That's what I hear.
yeah,
He set up a kitchen and cooked us lunch.
Yeah.
I remember like he's like, well, who's on board? And I'm like, okay, this, and this. He's like, all right, well, we got to get you a race flyer. Well, yeah, I know, but he got it back in like 15 minutes.
Just toss it together.
And then I'm like, can I get a logo? Got a logo in 5 minutes. I'm like, I need a header for like an email blast going out, like 1 minute, because he already had the stuff and he's just like playing with formats. And,
Sure.
like, that's his gig. Like he owns Biciclista, like cycling apparel, and all of that artwork is him.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of color. Like I want black socks, black shoes, black kit, black helmet.
Look at what Jake and I are wearing.
Yeah, like
we're in full black with little orange details.
I want black.
Yeah.
I'm terrified of color. But with that said, he did everything that he's touched and done so far. I faint over.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so good.
Yeah.
How do you do it? How do you do it so quickly? So yeah, the amount of stuff that he did at Vanport, when I went to Vanport to set up the course, we went over with Kevin Blair of Cyclocross Crusade, because there was a little bit of nervous tension of like, well, I don't want you going to a venue and doing the same thing that the Cross Crusade is going to do in a month.
Yeah.
Cross Crusade's first race is October 24th, and then Cross Crusade is one of the larger amateur race series in the country.
Cross Crusade holds my heart.
Yeah.
You know, like cyclocross in Oregon is nothing until October 24th.
That's correct.
Yeah, because if you think,
Everything else is practice.
dude, if you think that getting like a top 10 was like legit in any field so far, you are going to get humbled very quickly going to the Cross Crusade, because people show up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that said, we had Kevin Blair come out, and Stefano was there too. And I basically said, I am fully on board with protecting the Crusade. What do we not touch in order for it to be a draw for the first Cross Crusade race? So we were pointed those out. Stefano's with me, and he's like, let's do this for the course. I like long straight power. He probably had 18 off-camber grass
Yes,
turns.
we did.
And like, yeah, like you had to go tape to tape, cutting, like getting so interesting with your apexes. And that was Stefano. Like that course was designed as soon as, like, Sal Kalur and I, when we walk a course and there's 4 of us walking it and we're designing a course together, we agreed that at one point you just need to let one person take it.
Yeah.
Because like you can't even have 4 people decide on dinner.
Yeah.
Like imagine going up to a grass hillside with nothing on the ground yet, and you're designing a course. We all see different lines. So
Yeah, you just have to let somebody take it.
Yeah, so Stefano, like, he started speaking the loudest. I'm like, you're in charge, buddy. And yeah, what we got was so sick. I mean, we knew where we were going and what was allowed for us to use on the property. But yeah, it was so cool to give him the reins on course design kind of with us, and that's one of the things he did.
What is his background with cycling? And he obviously has a cycling apparel company, and he's making kits
Dude,
and
it's so
stuff
funny. You go over to his house, and he has bins and bins and bins of jerseys that he's created. And some of them are jerseys that Tour de France racers from back in the day wore.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, so it's like he won't tell you that, but it's legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and no, anybody in the industry that knows him just met a friend for life.
Yeah.
He's family. He'll invite you over. Like for us, we watch Supercross together at his house, and like my girlfriend, like neither my girlfriend or I cook. So when we think about like, is it time to go treat yourself for a good meal? Like we don't think of a restaurant, we think of his house.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
There you
call
go.
Stefano and Sarah.
Yeah.
Like, are they down to have us over? So it's like the only place we feel comfortable inviting ourselves over. And they make you feel like you didn't.
Yeah.
So
that's another reason I love the cycling community with people like him in it. That's
Dude,
fantastic.
Yeah. And that's why he's our team captain or he won't say that, but yeah, there's a 4-man squad with us, myself, Aaron Anderson, Aaron McClintock, and Anj Stadnik. And dude, the guy's so legit. He made cycling kits for us, and we all have our last names on the back.
Oh,
yeah, and it's like
cool.
it's that little touch. And then on the inside of the kit where it says like made in Italy in the size, our last name is there too. And you just feel special.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
those are the nice little touches.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's cool. So going back to Washougal, what's the breakdown? What's this going to look like? When is it? Who's going to be there?
October 16th, which is my birthday.
Oh, all right.
So at the very least, let's share birthday beer.
Okay.
But yeah, we have Dialed is coming on. And as a sponsor, and we got Tangent Coffee Roasters coming on. It's basically going to be kind of my breakout of branding myself as Zone 5 Promotions.
Sure.
And we're co-presenting it with Stefano of Biciclista. And yeah, I so as of now, the date set, the venue set, I'm going up to meet with the owner of the facility this week, which is because it's on a motocross track. He's a family friend of my girlfriend's dad.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's weird how you make these connections.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
And that's why this venue I feel is super personal.
Yeah, he's a good dude as well. Like we were out on a road bike ride, and we like if you're riding out there in Washougal, there's that road that undercuts it. It's just below it.
Yeah.
Boring.
And we,
Yeah.
yeah, and then we were just sitting there. We were we were waiting for the rest of our group to kind of come up, just regrouping, if you will.
Yeah.
And he's coming up in his truck, and he just like pulls over and he stops. And I'm like, oh gosh, we're gonna get yelled at by some local here. And he rolls down his window, he's like, oh hey guys, how are you? He's like, you guys are all cyclists, and he's like, do you guys do any of the cyclocross stuff? And everybody's like, oh yeah. And then he's like, yeah, we love you guys, and if you guys ever need anything, or if you want to come out here and do some racing, or we want racing to come back here. And like he couldn't have been any more of a nice guy, any more supportive.
Yeah, I had a phone call with him the other day. He's interesting because like maybe I'll try 4 days to get him on the line. And I'm like biting my fingernails off. I'm like, bro, I need confirmation.
Sure.
So I get all nervous, and then like I talk to him, and we'll have like a 2-hour conversation, and it's like full throttle. He's like, yeah, so you'll come back in 2022. I'm like, well, let's take care of this year.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, next year, and I want to make a 6 to 8 mile mountain bike single track loop around my facility that mountain bikes don't touch. And I'm like, dude, you're saying what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And like every promoter and bike racer is just waiting for people to give us the field of dreams.
Yep.
Yes.
Like you're allowing us to come to your property.
Yep.
And create something. And he's like, yeah, my it's his girlfriend or his wife is a elite mountain biker. So it's something that she's wanted.
Oh, there
so 2022 sneak peek, there is going to be some form of mountain biking at Washougal.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it won't be like a gravel road. It'll be like we're creating a team to go up there with shovels.
Sure.
And build single
Build some trails.
tracky. Yeah. Dude, I'm a mountain biker now. And I'm most excited next year about all those teammates I just mentioned on the team I'm on. They're all Cat 1 mountain bikers.
Okay.
I'm finally in the mix with them. So to have like 4 teammates in Cat 1 mountain biking, dude, that excites me so much. Yeah.
So you guys will come up with a cool course design, of course.
Yeah.
Because that's
Is
what
it
you
going to
do.
be on the
So for the
Ninkasi
for
side?
the cyclocross?
Yeah.
That's so weird. Like
Everybody asks that.
No, it's so weird because people are they're comforted in knowing, but it might be something new.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it might be something totally new, weather dependent. Because if it rains there, we have to go. We can't touch some of the mud. We don't have a motor on our bike.
Yeah, like you need to stay off the actual motocross course if it's really wet.
I don't even think well, so we're dealing with logistics of another moto event that day.
Sure.
I think it's a woods race. So based on that, we're going to see what their track is, where their parking is, and then we basically get full reign of the rest of the facility.
Gotcha. And it's a big place. I mean, how many acres is it? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't know.
I want to say somebody told me it's like 80 acres, which, if that's correct, that's a big place.
No, and then when I lived in the woods, like that line is so blurry, right?
Yeah.
Like you have your property line, but when it bleeds into natural woods, it's pretty big. It just got a lot bigger. Yeah. No one's going to be out there being like, hey, you crossed the property line here.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't know. There's trees everywhere.
Yeah. That's cool. It's a great venue, and I just wish that more people would not put their nose up at the notion of like, oh my gosh, I got to go to Washington and drive all the way out to Washougal. Trust me, it's worth your time.
Dude, other people's like weight that they put on that drive has a weight on me. And I was like I asked my girlfriend today, who pretty much does all my work for me. Like she jumps on my laptop. I'm like, hey, can you tell me how far it is from Portland to Washougal Motocross Park, where the venue is?
Yeah.
I thought it was like over an hour, you know, because everyone else freaks out about it, but it's like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, 40 minutes?
Everybody's
like,
going to drive that far this weekend. Heiser Farms.
Further. Yeah. For some people, further.
Yeah.
And this morning, I blasted on the WSBA forum as well. And I'm like, I'm going to waive 1 day permits for you guys. If anybody in WSBA comes down, I'll cover that cost for 1 day.
Yeah.
Because I want to see them.
Yeah.
There's no race going on in Washington October 16th, only the 17th.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of those dudes are coming down to Cross the following week.
Sure.
Cross Crusade.
Yeah.
And
the timing is really good because it's in between this Harvest Cross Series ending and before Cross Crusade starts.
Yes.
So
dude, if anybody got gifted that date, that is the best date you could have.
Yeah.
Like by the end of Cross Crusade, like you're burnt out. Like that was hard.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, it's after the Ober Cross Champs race on the 9th and 10th of October.
Yeah.
And then you have that week in October 16th. And then you have the
Cross
Crusade starting.
Yeah.
And I'm copying the race day schedule of Cross Crusade. So you'll start to get you'll start to get a feel for it.
Yeah, the pacing will be about right. Now, I don't want to knock PIR. It's a great little facility. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do there. And it is a big, giant blank slate, but there's really nothing that's like, oh, that's really cool that you get to do that. I mean, it's kind of fun, like when you get to incorporate it in the motocross track, or the fact that we get to ride road bikes on the race course or the track that goes around there. But for the cyclocross stuff that you did, you just have a space, and it'd be like akin to like saying, all right, we're going to go to this elementary school and you get to do this here. I mean, there's not
which is a very interesting way to design, because you're essentially given like a crescent moon shape. Not even like a square or a circle.
Yeah.
So
you get to be creative with that, and you made it work, and it was fantastic. Everybody showed up and had a really good time. You walked the course, and Stefano got to do his thing, and you made something out of, I don't want to say nothing, but not very much in terms of features. When you talk about Washougal, my gosh, there's a lot of stuff out there that is at your disposal, and you're talking about now you're given like the holy grail of places that you can build something.
I completely agree, and you can be evil.
Yeah.
Like you can make people like actually think of, like, for me, like when you go through a cross course.
Yeah.
So the very first time this has ever happened was Hetmere, when you ride into the sand. Oh, I hated that.
Yeah.
I didn't get off the bike, but I hated riding into the sand and trying to get through it. While I was learning how to do
you just get your weight wrong and you go over the handlebars.
Yeah. and there's a nice little the curb kicker. So once the sand gets kicked out in front of that, like, and you try to ride through, like you could flatten a tire on it easy.
Yeah.
So you try to do that little hop to get over it.
Yeah.
But that little hop makes you set into the actual deep sand deeper. But that was a cool obstacle, because I would fear it from the start, and as soon as I crossed it, it would be in my mind again, like, oh shoot, I got to hit that in another like 7 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm hitting that again.
Yep.
That's what I think is important for Washougal.
Yeah.
Like, I think we get a couple obstacles that actually challenge people.
Yeah.
And it stays in their head.
Yep. And like they did with Ninkasi, I mean, the end that they made was like perfect. It
yeah.
looked awesome, but
Dude.
it was not easy to ride through. It
Yeah.
wasn't like terrible, but at the same time, I mean, that was a signature thing
Yeah.
that they get to do with that.
Yeah.
Now you get the option to kind of go in there and do something similar.
Yep, that and I'll be I'll be out there with the owner of the venue, Ryan Huffman, and I think I'm going to bring along David Salzberg,
Sure.
who has so much knowledge
Sure.
of the venue, and we're going to create something amazing.
You know what you should do? You should create a course feature that looks like the Biciclista. You could do a loop on a loop on a hill.
Yeah.
It would make it look like that the Biciclista logo.
Yeah, those are cool little logos.
Well, we do have, as of this morning, 10 Barrel Brewing is coming on board.
Oh, nice.
So
good.
maybe I'll just like write out 10 Barrel. Yeah. No, it's funny though. Like I totally agree with you. The inn that was up on the hillside was so pro.
It was pro.
It was rad
Yeah.
because it was on the climb. You had to like muscle to punch it up, but then it had its own natural speed limit. You had a speed check coming into the bottom and then come back around. And yeah, I love cross.
Gotcha.
Like you can't make a bad course. You can just make a course that some people didn't like.
Yeah. And you're not going to ever make everybody happy
Right.
either, too.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the anatomy of cyclocross to date that you've done. Is there something in the future that you want to bring to cyclocross? Some little thing that's been sitting in the back of your brain, some little like stamp that you want to put on it that makes it like
Yes.
this is going to be a Scott Scholz event.
Yeah. So it was too short notice to pull this off this year. But the goal for 2022 regarding cyclocross is to do a 2-day event at Washougal with 2 different courses, completely different courses.
Okay.
The second one being very challenging technically. And that would allow people who come to the event on Saturday to be able to pre-ride the next day's course all day long.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's the daydream. And then have camping there Friday night, Saturday night. And just
And that's a venue where you can do that kind of
There's room
stuff.
for all of
they're
that.
wanting it.
Yeah.
He wanted it this year. And I'm like,
I mean, and it's so remote out there that like they could have entertainment, you could have
yes.
different
Yeah.
festivities. I mean, you can make this a thing, you know?
I'm going to rival Coachella. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm hiring on their paid staff. And
There you go. That's pretty cool. Anything else that you want to add to this, Scott? Anything that we missed or anything that you want to get off your chest?
no, for me, it's just thank yous. It's thank you to you guys for supporting me and my races. The other promoters for having my back. When I was like nervous and reaching out, they're like, "You got this."
Yeah.
And you've been with us doing this. You know what you're doing. Go. And I love it. Yeah. I kind of accidentally fell into this role, and this is my life now. So
You're going to make
Yeah.
the full run at becoming a full-time promoter, huh?
yeah, I'm trying to like keep the smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has
And
Mike Ripley given you some good tips or some good advice?
dude, we talk like every day on the phone for like 2 hours.
Yeah, that's a typical
like
Mike
Ripley.
Ripley conversation. Yeah.
But it's funny because
Yeah.
we're both after it, and like it's every once in a while, like I'll be on speakerphone, and probably so is he. So my girlfriend works remotely, and she's overhearing the conversation. And some of the conversations are like, "Were you guys fighting?" And I'm like, "No, it's just like the way we communicate."
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, dude, the people who have supported me. I feel like when anybody has ever talked about like it was an out of body experience or something, like a lot of this is coming through my mouth or my body or no, my mind orchestrating things, but it's such a collective effort. Like when so many people want something to happen, it's not you. Like it's when a band starts playing and they're jamming together and it's like perfect.
Yeah.
I feel like that right now because my energy goes in. Dude, the racers are showing up. Could you imagine if like no one showed up to Vanport?
Yeah, that would have been a
Bro,
bummer,
I would
but
have been
yeah.
on suicide watch. Yeah, I'm like nobody loves me. Like, but yeah, like, yeah. I mean, if you see me at a race, let's talk. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. That's all I want.
Cool.
Love it.
Any other questions for him, Lance?
I think we're good.
All right. So this is the part of the podcast where we do a little thing called One Last Thing. I'm not going to put you on the spot to start, but this is just where you can say anything that you want about anything. Your one last thing. You get a little parting shot, if you will. So, Lance, you got any one last things?
This is my stupid race week. This week I'm racing 4 times this week.
Good Lord, Lance.
So I'm going to race tonight at Twilight Cyclocross down in Springfield near Eugene. I think Scott is going as well.
Yes,
We're going to try to drag some teammates with us. Then Wednesday, I am driving to Spokane. I'm going to do that dumb little 30-minute race in Spokane.
That's a how many hour drive one way?
5.5 hours.
Like you do.
But that's my daughter's there. My wife's going. We're taking the dog. We're making it a couple days of it. You know.
But you would still do it if they weren't and all that other stuff wasn't going on, just because you're a sucker for a cyclocross race, aren't you?
What else am I going to do, Jake? I say that all the time. I don't have a job, so I may as well go race bikes. And then Saturday and Sunday, we have the 2 final races in the Harvest Cross Series.
Sure.
So Saturday is at Heiser Farms, which kind of features a mud bog. There's like a muddy section near the river that, regardless of whether it's warm, it will be muddy.
Yeah, because the weather right now, the past couple of days, it's been torrential here.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of rain, but it's supposed to start to dry up and clear up a little bit. Is that going to hold out for the weekend?
And it's back. Yeah, it'll be dry. The upper parts of the course will be dry, but the stuff back by the river will be muddy, guaranteed.
Okay.
It just won't dry out.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen pictures of that before where people are riding, like, their bottom bracket was just completely submerged.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. It's always a tough course. There's a couple run-ups that you have to run, so
and then
fun.
Sunday is Zaldercross?
Sunday is Zaldercross, which is here in Clark County, Washington, at Alderbrook Park.
That's another beautiful location.
I haven't been there yet, but it feels very Belgium. Like looking at
it's kind of in a bowl.
Videos.
The park is kind of in a bowl, so there are steep climbs and sharp, swoopy things. And Alderbrook Park is actually world famous for having a pink lemonade fountain.
A drinking fountain.
Fountain. With pink lemonade in it. So look for that if you come.
Well, I mean, is that going to be open?
Yeah, it'll be open.
Interesting.
It's like I'll be with my crazy straw, like a little. Yeah.
So there's 4 races this week happening. So
cool.
We'll see what happens from there.
All right, Scott, you got one last thing? Did I give you enough time?
Yeah, definitely. My last thing is just a sincere thank you to my girlfriend, Nikki Maeda, and Brian Simiotti. Sal and Bev, we came up and did Vanport. They stayed with us at our place, and we don't have a big place. So it was like very cozy, and that was the highlight of my week. Nikki's like, what was your favorite part? And I was like, hanging out with the crew that made this possible.
Yeah.
Eating dinner. I absolutely love the whole family aspect of the community, which I've had as a racer. And as I don't have kids, so I kind of feel like a parent, right? Like a parent will get like the bounce house and some like balloons and like they'll create the day for their child for it to be a memorable one.
Yeah.
That's my final thought with this is like being able to help create a memory.
Sure.
So.
And that was a good one too. So, and there will be more to come. Looking forward to that. My one last thing is, Scott asked for a little bit of help, and he said that he would, give us a little sponsorship tag, if you will, and that was all fine and well. But it wasn't really me, and you gave me a lot of credit for that. But all I did was like, rally the troops, and I just wanted to just give a heartfelt thank you out to the team that stepped up, like Lance here. There was a lot of people on our team that showed up and did stuff early in the morning, all throughout the day, helped to break down, and it's those people that really shine, and they're the ones that should get the recognition. All I did was show up and watch everybody, cheer everybody, take some pictures, and then I was off to another soccer game because that's what I'm, part soccer dad, all over the place doing all that other stuff. So, but they stepped up, and I really appreciate that, and am glad that we were able to help you out that way. So
yeah, big time.
It was good.
You guys having my back made a daunting endeavor feel easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people after the fact that were so thankful that they had the opportunity, that I think that that's going to encourage even more people to come out. So whenever you need help, don't hesitate to ask, and I'll come out and do everything I can with one arm. So I'll help out everywhere I can. Cool. All right. Well, Scott, we really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This was fun.
I was nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I got cocky. Like I was like brushing my teeth and strutting around, and my girlfriend's like, What is your deal? I'm like, babe, I'm going to be on a podcast. And then I'm like, yeah, so.
If you're lucky, some of this might end up on YouTube one of these days. YouTube famous. So, right on. All right. Well, we appreciate your time. We appreciate everybody listening to the podcast this week. We'll be back next week with a good one. And I guess I could say it. I think Wahoo's going to be joining us.
We're hoping we have some Wahoo executives to join us.
They're going to, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be next week. So we're going to be happy about that. So in the meantime, if you have any questions for Wahoo, hit us up. You can hit us up on social media and just shoot us some questions. That was the reason why I wanted to mention that. So anyway, thank you for listening. We'll catch you next week. Until then, bye for now.